don't have it, we will send this out. And just if you can confirm on that for me, please. Kate, can you see my screen?
I can see it. It's all right.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. All right. Excellent. All right, you guys. Well, today's session really is to give you guys sort of the 411 on the new certification trainer application process, what's expected, all that kind of good stuff. So as I'm going through, please jot down your questions on the YouTube live link where you guys are chatting. And Kate can help monitor some of that and address and start asking some of those questions as we're going through the slide deck. And then at the end, of course, we'll do another round of Q&A in case anybody has any further questions. And then we'll do the raffle at the end for some vouchers. So let's go ahead and jump in. The first two slides is just our contact info, so that way you have it. Again, you will get this presentation. That way you can get any info that you might need from the slide. So there's Kate's info as well. So on your screen here, you see the main link for the training center. So if you just go to that link, you'll find everything there is that you would need to know specifically for the training center program that includes all of their certifications. And then the link below that is to actually get the link specifically to this particular presentation. So it's just a shortened URL. You're welcome to pop that open. But again, we'll be giving that to you at the end of the session as well as in a follow-up. So don't worry about needing to jot it down. If you don't have to, you can just follow along on our screen for now. All right, so really quick, one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys right off the bat was really the benefits of what it means to be a certified trainer. And of course, you can see a listing of some really great things on here on your screen. I wanted to point out that one of the biggest differences we saw between what the program was like before in comparison to what it is now, we noticed the Google Apps for Education demo domain is now being included. And so as a part of your course and getting familiar with all of the product, you will now have access to a Google Apps for Education demo domain where you're going to be able to go in there and take a look at the different parts and aspects of the back-end system that manages the domain. And I think this is great. I love that they did this. Kate, I don't know how many times you've encountered, where you go to a session and there are questions around, what can happen on the back end, and you wouldn't know that unless you've had some exposure to the domain and managing that domain. So I think that's a really great added benefit of being a part of this particular network. So definitely look for that. Everything else on the list here is pretty much what we had seen before. And I just wanted to share with you, I'm not going to read through these. You guys can go back through the slides at a later time to be able to see some of what other certified trainers have said about the program. And what I can tell you, not only from the feedback they gave me, but even me personally, I can tell you that it's a huge benefit to be able to connect at a global scale with educators who are like-minded and who love these things that they're doing when it comes to educational technology. And there's nothing that compares to this network. It's been really amazing being a part of it. Kate, do you find that it's similar for you?
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so a couple of slides there for you guys from some folks that have given us some feedback, but I'll let you guys kind of slowly unpack that when you get the presentation. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep moving. The link to take you directly to the certification for the trainer program is located here. You see where it just says certification_trainer. So it's the only additional part you would need to that link to be able to get there. And once you get there, you'll see a screen that looks like this. You'll notice up at the top right, there is a sign in or sign out button, depending on if you've signed in or not yet. But you definitely want to sign in because that's how it's going to keep track of all of your progress once you're going through the courses. So you can expect to see that up at the top right. And once you sign in to the course, it'll then give you access to everything that you need for the certification program. Now, I want to make sure that we highlight the dates. So before I jump into the application and all of that, I wanted to remind everyone that the applications are now officially open. And I've already heard from some of you saying you're going to be applying, so super excited about that. Notice that the application deadline is December 31st. So I'm guessing that some of you might wait, maybe till the holiday to knock this out, which is nice to have that time to dedicate to this, but don't wait too long because you want to make sure that you have all of the components that you'll need for this particular program. Accepted notifications will happen sometime in January. We don't know exactly when, but just sometime in January, those are going to be reviewed, and you should start to find out in January if you've been accepted to the program. In the past, applications have been open quarterly, and so we've noted on here that it's on a quarterly basis, but we don't have dates yet for 2017 as far as when they'll open the next one. So just kind of stay tuned. We'll let you know as soon as we know, and we'll post those out on the Twitter hashtag as well as the Google Plus community. All right, so when I went into the application portal, I noticed that there were two separate sections that you can start your application in. And so what you see here on my screen is one I started as in progress, and then the second one that is what you would normally see, which you would just say start your application. So if you are looking for the English application, then you would click start your application in that section above, which mine now says in progress because I already clicked on it, but yours would say start your application. For those of you who need the application in a different language, you can select the second option, which is for international applicants applying within your own language. So that's the one that you would select. So just be mindful of which one you pick because it will give you some options for language. All right. So just a couple of application requirements that I wanted to share with you. This has changed from what it used to be before. And so I wanted to share a little bit about that. For example, the trainer center for the certified trainer has changed dramatically. It now looks a lot more like level 1, level 2 as far as the courses. So for those of you who've been into level 1, level 2, it's going to look very similar to those. For those of you who haven't, I do have a screenshot coming up where I'll share that with you. But before, the trainer materials, it was, you had a lot of different courses that you had to go through, and now we have it all in one. It is 7 units, and you can expect to spend, a good amount of time in there. They've estimated about 30 plus hours. It just depends on your pace, but you're looking at about 20 lessons that you're going to be going through. And that's all self-paced. You get to complete it at your own time. What I recommend is, once you've logged in and you're going through the content, is to just pace yourself. Definitely do the little quizzes at the end. Those are going to really help make sure that you understood the concepts that were just shared. Once you complete them, it will actually note on your on the actual training course that you've completed every single unit within that particular course. Once you're done, then whenever you're ready to take the exam, you can go to the link there that's linked under skills assessment, and it's $50 to take the test. And I'll give you some more info on the test here in just a second, but there's one test, and this is also something that's very different from before. There used to be 5 exams that you had to take, and now it's only the one. So that's really nice to see. That we've narrowed it down to just 1 instead of the 5. It is required that you also have level 1 and level 2 certificates. So you do have to take those 2 exams. They each have, of course, the courses that go along with them. So you need all 3 of these certificates when you apply. It's going to ask you to actually upload each of those 3 certificates to show proof that you've completed and passed all 3 exams.
And Monica, can I just interject real quick? The level 2 exam is actually $25 instead of $15. So we'll
thank you.
on the slide deck when we get to it.
It's good to know. It used to be 15.
I'm sorry, I should have seen that beforehand.
Yeah, no, I've just changed it, so we're set. It'll update for everyone in just a few minutes. They'll be able to see the change on that. All right, so aside from these items here, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next slide. I wanted to share just a quick screenshot for those who hadn't actually gone into the level 1 or level 2. When you're logged into your account and you're going through the courses, this is pretty much what you'll see. Once you've completed a unit, you'll get the green check mark. And at the start of another unit, you'll see the little gray dots over on the right-hand side, and it'll show you roughly how long it would take and how many lessons are within that particular unit. And so that's pretty much the same for all three, right? So for level 1, level 2, and now the trainer one as well. So all in the same platform, all looking just about the same. All right, so I'm gonna pause for just a quick second. Kate, have you seen any questions so far on anything regarding the application so far? Are we good?
No, so a lot of people are asking about level 1 and level 2, and yes, both of those exams are now required and mandatory to be able to apply for trainer status. Now, if you took those 5 skills tests beforehand, they did give you that opportunity, and they actually publicized it pretty well. That this past August was the last time you would be able to use those towards a trainer certification. So at this point in time, the only way to apply for trainer certification is to take and pass level 1, level 2, and then the small skills test. Another question was if the skills test was that difficult. I found it really wasn't, but there were some questions on there that I was really unfamiliar with. I'm not a pro at COPA and FERPA and all the other laws. And so you'll want to make sure that you're going through going through that trainer program quickly. And there's some really good stuff in there. They've definitely deviated from the past where it was all tools, tools, tools. And the new trainer program has some really, I think, beneficial trainer types of things in there now. How to be just a good all-around trainer. So those skills tests, while yes, you may be able to pass them without that trainer curriculum, it still is, I think, beneficial to go through and do the trainer curriculum.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of other questions that we're definitely going to be addressing as we move through the slide deck. So Kate, unless you have anything else, I think I'll move on to the exam.
Go for it.
Good, awesome. All right, so for those of you asking questions around the exam that you have to take for the trainer portion of it, so this is not about level 1, level 2, but specific to the trainer portion. What you'll find is 25 questions, and this is different from before. Before we had 5 different exams and you had 60 questions per each, and now that's completely gone away. We have 1 exam only, 25 questions, and you have 90 minutes to complete it. So plenty of time for you to really think through the questions and address them and answer them to the best of your knowledge. Please note, you still do need to have an 80% or above for it to be considered passing, and that makes it basically 20 questions that you have to get right out of the 25. For those of you who do not pass the first time, notice you do have some requirements as far as needing to wait a little bit before you can retake those exams. So you've got pretty much 3 times within a year that you can take the exam. Up until then, you have to wait a full year. The idea being that you're going to go back through the content and really work your way through it to make sure you understood all the concepts on there. I like that they kept some of the functionality from the previous testing center, like being able to mark questions so that you can go back in and review them later. So if you get really stuck on something, you can mark it and then keep going on the different questions and then just come back to those at a later time. So I found that it's definitely, the new portal for this is definitely very user-friendly portal. It's pretty self-explanatory when you jump in there, and I think you guys will see that once you're in there. When you complete that exam and you pass it, you will receive an email from the testing center with your certificate. It'll be attached as a PDF. And what you'll find in that certificate is going to be the date that you pass the exam and then the expiration date, which is valid for 2 years, by the way. So this particular certificate, you can apply to the program within those 2 years, right? So you've got 2 years to be able to use this. Now, for those of you who may have taken the 5 exams previous to this new exam being available, if you took the 5 and you received your Trainer Essential certificate, which is the one behind there, the second one in the back, If you have that certificate and it is still a valid certificate, meaning that you took it recently and you received this certificate, then you can certainly apply to the program as long as you have level 1, level 2. You can still use the Trainer Essentials certificate as long as that certificate is still valid. So again, if you took it recently, you could still use that towards applying for this program. You wouldn't have to take the Trainer Skills Assessment exam. However, I recommend you do, just because it actually covers other areas that you wouldn't have covered before. But if you're not wanting to do that just yet and you want to do that and wait for that until later, you certainly could. Remember that regardless of which of the 2 certificates you use for the trainer certificate part, it just has to be a valid certificate. So that's just a really important part there. All right, so how do you get going into the application? Because let's say you've gone through the courses, you've taken level 1, level 2, and the trainer course, and you've passed all 3 exams. Now you're ready to apply. So that's the next step. So I've given you the link here, and what we're going to do in this next section is really just unpack the application. Before I do that, though, I do want to pause one more time. Kate, are there any questions on the exams or the courses?
Nope, they're just asking what the format of the new trainer certificate is. It's just multiple choice, and it's very straightforward. They ask questions specifically out of the curriculum. So again, it just really helps to go through the curriculum and
yeah, I agree for sure. Yeah. And just so everyone knows too, the course is completely free. It used to be free before, it's still free. Level 1, level 2, also free. So all of the course content is 100% free. Only the exams have a nominal fee, but everything else is free. All right, then let's jump into the application. All right, so this first section really is all about gathering your resources. What is it that they're going to be asking you for in the application? What do you need to compile and start getting together so that you can get your application going? So the very first thing are going to be your trainer certificate. So it includes the trainer essentials, but then it also includes level 1, level 2. So you have to have all 3 certificates in order for you to be able to apply to this program. So make sure that you go through that, knock that piece out for sure. So you have all 3 certificates. And then the next thing that we're looking at is really your experience delivering professional development. You will be, when you actually go into the application, you're going to be asked specific questions as far as, you know, what were the latest professional development sessions you facilitated in relation to Google Apps for Education, or G Suite, as we call it now. And you'll be asked to actually list, there'll be in the form, there'll be a space for you to actually list the 5 most recent sessions that you did on anything Google. And then you need to actually put dates along with it. You need to link to resources and link to any materials that you could share in relation to that. So they are really looking to see what kind of experience you have. You'll get questions around how long have you been delivering professional development, how long have you been teaching, how long have you been doing professional development in general. So you'll see those questions pop up. The really important thing here is we're looking at professional development. This particular program seeks out people who have been doing professional development for some time now, and then of course focused on Google Apps for Education. If you don't have that already, remember that your certificates last for 2 years, so you can give yourself some time to go out and deliver professional development and really build up your training portfolio so that you are then ready to actually apply to this program. If you don't have a lot of teaching experience in the classroom specifically, it doesn't indicate anywhere that that would be a factor in not allowing you into the program, but it's definitely a big plus to see that we've got folks who have been teachers, have been in the classroom before, that are now providing professional development. But that is not necessarily, we didn't see anywhere that that said that that would keep you from being able to get your certification. It will ask you about your training goals. This is definitely a new question. I hadn't seen this before in the past. It's asking to see, hey, what are you wanting to accomplish in the next year? And I found it really refreshing to see this. It's just to really help focus our efforts and our goal, and what do we want to do in having this certification? What do we want to accomplish? What are we going to be doing in relation to professional development? So expect to see that question. That one, if I recall correctly, was like about 500 words that you had a space for, so you can fill that in. The case study is still there, but it's sort of in a different format, which I'll share with you here in a second. You will also be submitting a video, and I'll talk a little bit about social media. That is not a requirement, but I'll talk a little bit about that. So in relation to the case study, these are the questions you're going to get asked. Just really expect to be able to unpack a workshop or a session that you've done and provide information to back that up. Before, they had a doc that they linked to that was a template. That's no longer there. You can actually put your information directly into the form that you're filling out for your application. My recommendation is for you to set up a doc yourself and address these questions that you see here on the screen, and then copy and paste over when you're ready to. That just really kind of helps the flow of getting your application ready. But otherwise, really, you're just looking to unpack a workshop that you've done. Be ready, too, to share some resources in relation to that workshop. So once you've gotten that and you've gone through that section, you also have, as before, a video. So let's dive in a little to the video. And just in my experience in having reviewed videos, this is definitely a big component. Not that the other parts aren't equally important, but this really gives us sort of a lens into who you are. And so I highly recommend you definitely spend some time on your video and don't necessarily just slap it together last minute. So here are your requirements for the video. It is a 3-minute video that you do have to upload, and it has to be available on YouTube. Make sure that you set it to where we will be able to see that video, because if we cannot, it's basically considered an incomplete application. So make sure we can see your video. And you'll be addressing the following 2 things. You're going to talk a little bit about why you want to become a Google for Education certified trainer, and they're recommending 30 seconds be spent on that part of the video, and that you spend the remaining time demoing a Google tool and also applying it to the classroom. Now, before, these weren't criterias, that really it was more recommendations we would give people, and I love that they're now adding this to the application itself. And so don't take these recommendations lightly. Like, you should really adhere to 30 seconds about you, and then the remaining time about the Google tool. And notice they do say that a screencast is preferred. I highly recommend, this is my opinion, I highly recommend that you go with a screencast, because if you set up a tripod and record yourself, it's so hard to capture, like, really the value and your knowledge and the extent of what you can do with a tripod, sitting somewhere capturing your session. It's too hard to tell. Audio doesn't always come through very well. Video sort of gets, messed up a little bit. So a screencast would definitely be my recommendation. And just a couple of other things in relation to your video. Definitely look at Google tools that we use that are within the G Suite of applications. I wouldn't go out and do something like Smarty Pins or Let Me Google That For You. Those are not within the G Suite. Definitely go for an application that's within it. You can also get geeky and extend that into maybe some extensions or labs or add-ons. You can definitely do that, but don't do tools that are not within the G Suite. In addition to that, my recommendation to you is to go for the SLAM. Don't do something basic, because that only shows your extent of knowledge to something that's basic. But if you go to something that's a little more advanced, then it allows you to highlight something at an advanced level. So clearly you know the basics if you're already working on something advanced. But if you show me something basic, then it's a lost opportunity to show me that your knowledge of Google products is by far more extensive. So that's my recommendation to you. And please don't forget to apply this back to education. Whatever it is that you're showing, how would a teacher or an administrator or someone within education, how might they use that tip or that tool that you're showing in their particular educational setting? How would it benefit them? How could it facilitate a process for them? So make sure to tie that back in. And lastly, make sure that that you're just real. Don't read a script, and you know, that would typically go without saying. But my gosh, Kate, I can't tell you how many applications I've reviewed where people were actually reading a script, and we can tell, like, your voice is different, you don't sound real, and in some cases we would even see people looking at a different screen reading. So don't read a script. I cannot tell you how important that is. Be real, be yourself. And lastly, on the video, please be sure that we can get to that video. I mentioned that earlier. Share it with someone. Let them give you feedback. Let you know if one, they can view it, can they hear it well, can they see it well. It just is a really good just step before you apply to actually get some feedback on that particular video. So just a couple of extra tips there on the screen. I'll let you guys unpack that when you get the presentation. But really just think through and say, is this really my best work? And if it's your best work, then go for it. That it sounds like it would be ready to go, ready for you to submit. If it's not your best work, then sort of take a step back and maybe reevaluate your video and maybe even, you know, do it again. So again, just as a reminder, most important thing, make sure I can see that video. So important. Otherwise, it's pretty much an instant no. All right, Kate, I'm going to pause there for a second. How's it going on your end?
Good. You were talking about video tips, and when you had mentioned the things that the script reading on your end, the thing that always catches my eye are the people that I feel like are at 11:59 p.m. And there's literally like a light, you know, shining in their eyes, and it's a dark room, and they're just, you know, almost talking really quietly to not wake up their family. So sure you're really cognizant of your location. When I did my training video, I sat in my classroom one day after school. So I was in a classroom setting. There was really good light coming in from the windows. So, I mean, just think about, you know, where you're doing your trainer video. We do have a couple of questions, Monica, that maybe you can help answer. Sarah's wondering, so they're no longer, she just wants to get this right. They're no longer looking for a 15-hour log of trainings.
Oh, great question. I will be addressing that here in just a little bit when I talk about requirements, but you do still have to log in trainings. It's not, I'll get in trainings.
Okay. And then Lindsay, wondering, does the video need to be public or can it be just listed as unlisted?
So it doesn't necessarily, I would recommend making it public. You know, like I said, if it's good work, I mean, we definitely would want to put it out there, right? You want to give people access to, you know, that screencast that you're recording. Just to be on the safe side, I would make it public. Once you get notification of acceptance or you know, you could then, you know, make it private after that if you want. It would be safer that way. An unlisted does allow you to just provide the link and those who have the link to be able to get to it. So if you are concerned about that, that could certainly be an option. Like I said, test it out with a friend, send the link to a friend, and as long as they can see it, it's likely we can see it as well. And make sure that that friend maybe is logged into a personal account, not within your school domain if you're creating this under your school domain, because those rights also differ a little bit.
And then one thing that I just wanted to just quickly interject is that, you know, we get a lot of questions about how can people start working as consultants and facilitators with EdTechTeam. And one thing, as someone, you know, I'm in charge of our bootcamp program, and one thing I definitely look at is that repository of YouTube videos that you have on your YouTube channel. Are you creating these videos that are publicly, you know, shared with other people to, you know, share the love? So it's always a really good thing once you start these to continue them as well.
Yes, absolutely. And great segue too into this next section. The application doesn't require that you be active in social media, but it's definitely a way for us to see how well connected you are to others and what your outreach is as well. Like, like who are you connected to, who are you collaborating with, how are you sharing your resources. And social media is definitely a vehicle that's going to allow you to do that. And there are a lot of different, social media tools that you can certainly pick from. But to Kate's note, we are looking to see, what kind of work are you putting out there, the caliber of the work and the frequency of that particular work as well. And so, we want to be able to see that you guys are active in that area. And that in itself is really professional development. You're sharing resources, you're sharing ideas and tips. That's professional development, and that can be added, very easily to your portfolio of work. And again, it gives us a really great insight to the kind of work that you're putting out there.
And also, you may want to make sure you're doing all this in your personal account. We just had a question. It's not advisable to be doing all this work and all this certification in your school account. You never know how long you're going to be with that school district, and it's kind of a pain to transfer everything over. Definitely all of the certification and all these YouTube videos, you're going to want to have your own Gmail account and be posting to and using that as your primary address.
Yeah, completely agree there. I've got mine under my personal account. I've had it that way for a really long time, and any transition, it's really helpful. So yeah, that's a really great tip, Kate. All right, so I still have a couple of application tips for you guys that I wanted to cover, so I'll just jump right into that. When you go into the application portal, please note that this is not necessarily your Google account that you can just log in with. If you've never actually been to the portal before, you have to create an application portal account. Now, you can use the same email, like your personal Gmail and your personal password that you have for your Gmail account. You can certainly still use that if you want to, but know that the first time you go, if you put in your Gmail account and password, it's going to tell you, hey, no, you don't have an account yet. So you have to create an account for that application portal. And once you create the account, then you have to go back into your email to verify it, and then you can go back in and log in. And I highly recommend putting that username and password somewhere safe so that you can easily retrieve it in case you do actually use a different username and password than what you normally use. So just watch out for that. The other thing too is, every question counts. You guys heard me mention earlier just, how valuable that video is, but every single question counts. And know that, all of these entries come through and Google selects people from the trainer community to actually go in and review these applications. And they get more than one. And so if you and a colleague are submitting, be sure to not copy each other's answers. We do recognize applications and content from applications. This happened once where I was reviewing applications and there were 3 applications from the same school district, and they had copied and pasted all of their answers. And clearly, they didn't put in the effort, in the application, which to us meant you're not really going to put effort into the program. So those were instant no's. So I'm going to assume no one here would do that, but just wanted to throw that out there in case you were applying with a group of colleagues. Make sure that you're answering these questions individually. And make sure you address the question. Sometimes we're reading answers and we're like, that had nothing to do with the question. So be mindful of what the question is asking when you are submitting. And going back to what Kate was saying in relation to training experience, for those of you who've had the opportunity to train outside of your schools, outside of your districts, if you've trained at regional conferences, whether it be the Google Apps for Education Summits, other conferences where you're presenting that are national conferences and so forth, highlight those when they ask you to identify, some of the recent work that you've done, because it just really helps show the reach that you have and the scope of work that you've done. So that's just really a recommendation for you guys. All right, so last few things here, and then we'll definitely do a Q&A at the end. If for some reason your application is not accepted, apply again. The applications will reopen again in 2017. Like I said earlier, we don't have the dates yet, but when they open, definitely take that opportunity to apply again if you don't get in the first time. Typically, reasons for applications not being accepted is either because we weren't able to get to your video, because it wasn't viewable, or you linked to something we couldn't get to, and that was an important part of the application. So make sure we can get to all of your content. That way you don't miss out just because of that. And the other reason, if for some reason you don't have enough training experience already delivering professional development specifically on Google Apps, then that could also be a reason why it might not be accepted. But the good thing is, remember, you have those certificates for 2 full years. So you have time to actually go back and start doing trainings and working with teachers to build up that portfolio of trainings you've done. So Kate, you mentioned that there was a question around reporting trainings, and that is a requirement for those of you who want to recertify and continue your certification. Notice that you'll have to do this once a year. And what you have to complete are the 3 bullet points below that. So once a year, you'll have to report at least 12 training sessions. And those training sessions can be like a session at a conference. It could be, you know, like let's say a half day or full day workshop. It could be, you know, hangouts on air that you're doing. Just a sort of a combination, a mix of different trainings that you've done. So 12. You will be asked to share some ideas and resources within the community of trainers. So how active are you? And we talked a little bit about social media earlier. So how active are you in there, and what have you been sharing? And then, of course, you do actually have to submit sort of the valid assessment. So when you go back in to apply again for the program, you'll have to just attach your assessments, and they just have to be valid still. So as long as they are within the time period and they haven't expired, then you just continue to attach those. Once those certificates expire, you do have to take all of those exams again, and that would include level 1, level 2, and the trainer one. All right, I'm going to pause there again. Kate, let's see what kind of questions we have before we go to the last few slides here.
Okay, we have a couple of questions. So Kimberly is wondering if it's okay to list presentation opportunities that aren't necessarily Google.
So one of your questions is in relation to just how many years you've been providing professional development in general. And so you'll really just add the number. You can put in, like, let's say 10 years, 12 years, 50 years, you know, whatever, you know, you'd put into that field is just really the years is what they're asking for. It's a short text box, but you can certainly add a little bit of info if you wanted to, or if you wanted to, let's say, link to a resume, although there's no guarantee that your resume would actually be looked at. So you can certainly add a little bit of text in there.
Okay. And then we have Renee, who is asking if they apply and they're not accepted, will they be told what's preventing their acceptance?
So the 2 things that I mentioned is the more common things. You will receive an email, and in that email it will have some information. It won't go into a lot of detail, but pretty much those are the 2 more common reasons why an application is declined.
Okay.
And on that note, Amy asked a question about presenting with partners. That it does not affect your application in a negative way by any means. In fact, one of the questions is to identify if you have been presenting with a PD partner, and you can actually write in there. So for example, if any one of you had presented at one of our summits or done a workshop for us, then you could include on there as the partner EdTechTeam, and then you just fill out that information, and that's it. So it is definitely not a negative thing. It's in there for you to actually show that you are working with partners. And if you're not working with partners, you can certainly reach out to any one of us. It's not a requirement. I want you guys to know that it's not required that you have to work with partners by any means.
And then the last thing, they're interested in some mentoring, and I am really excited about that. So I created a Google form, and we'll get to that at the end. I put it in the resource slide. And so if you're interested in pairing up with a mentor near you, when we get down there, there'll be a little Google form that you can fill out, and then you'll be able to, just put your information in there, and I'll reach out to you about, something we can do with that for sure.
All right, Kate, well, I pulled up the slide deck again, so if you want to, you can go ahead and address the boot camps, and then I'll take it after that.
Sure. So, that most of you that are on this call then know that you've got your trainer, you have your level 1, you have your level 2, and then, we have this whole other innovator academy that we work on too. I have to tell you that yes, you can absolutely do all of these, autonomously on your own. through the curriculum. But I'm finding that there are so many teachers who just don't, and coaches who just don't have the time and just can't prioritize that between the grading and the job and their families. So we do offer boot camps, and Monica, if you want to just click to the next one, we do offer the trainer boot camp. We're looking at that as a 2-day program. Where we'll go through, and not only will we go through the Google curriculum, but we'll really emphasize just really good training qualities. When you leave that 2-day program, you will have a toolkit for everything you'll need for a trainer. You'll have your own slide deck template. You'll have your own, we'll really work with YouTube, and you'll have your own screencasting ins and outs and tips and tricks, and be really comfortable doing that to curate those YouTube libraries that we were talking about. So you're going to leave with everything you're ever going to need to either facilitate a small group training within your own building, to a more of a district training if you're called upon that to do a district training. Scenarios, all sorts of things are built into that. And so we do have that 2-day trainer program. If you click to the next one, our level 1 program is I read in the chat that a lot of people felt that level 1 was really easy for them, but I suspect that of the 40 viewers that are viewing, at least 39 of you are already really Google, you have high ability skills in Google. So the level 1 is a 2-day program. It's just because there are so many things involved with that. And for those of you who only took level 2 and didn't take your level 1s, just note that it includes all foundational apps. So that means it's Drive, Docs, Slides, Drawings, Forms, Spreadsheets, YouTube, email, Gmail, Calendar, Hangouts, and a digital citizenship, fair use, copyright. And so packing that all into one day is practically impossible. It's just too overwhelming. So the level 1 is a 2-day program. And if you go to edtechteam.com/bootcamps, you can click a button to find out where level 1s are near you. And it gives you the opportunity to just go for a weekend, get all of the training you need to get, and then be able to take the exam afterwards. Level 2 is offered as a 1-day program or a 2-day program. The 1-day program is definitely a hard hit. Like, you're going to be going at it. You're going to go through everything. You're going to see everything. And then the 2-day program is designed to be able to create things to take back to your site with you. So whereas the level 1 program was very foundational, the level 2 program does have a lot of more advanced applicable lessons, including hyperdocs. And so when you're going through the level 2, one question was, can I just take the level 2 test without doing the curriculum? With the level 1, possibly you can do that. With level 2, absolutely not. There are some things that you have never seen because they're not necessarily Google. They're created with Google products, but there are lesson plans you may have never seen before that you may be asked about on the exam. So you definitely want to go through that level 2. And again, if you go to edtechteam.com/bootcamps, there's a button there to find boot camps near you. But if there isn't a boot camp near you, consider talking with your building administrator, your district people about hosting a boot camp. They're ticketed events just like our summits, which means that we'll put it on invite, and we try to get the 25 to 30 people into the room, and you'll get 3 complimentary tickets actually for your staff for hosting. So if you go to edtechteam.com/bootcamps, you can either find events near you or request to host a boot camp on your own. It looks like Monica has switched to the important links. The one thing I wanted to mention is that Google form at the bottom. So if you go to edtech.team/trainer mentor, capital T for trainer and capital M for mentor. And so that's edtech.team/trainer mentor, capital T for trainer, capital M for mentor. And fill out that quick Google form. We can certainly work with you to create some sort of, we can even create a mentoring cohort if you'd like, where we can just meet with you, weekly or bi-weekly and discuss, trainer things and working towards your application. Are there any questions? Did you notice, Monica?
I have to jump out of the presentation to be able to see them, so I'm in the presentation. I'll jump back here in a second.
No,
I just want to remind everyone that this particular slide will have all of your needed links for everything within this particular program. So you can always come back to this slide to be able to get that information, including that mentor program that Kate was just talking about, and that's slide 46. I'm going to go ahead and jump out of that slide so that we can go ahead and take a look and see if there are any questions. And in doing so, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen for just a little bit here so that I can.
I like your hat. One question while you're transitioning is, please clarify the 150-second section of the video. Gareth, you definitely want to, it's basically teaching someone how to do something. So as a district technology coordinator of my former school district, I was constantly having to just do a quick 1.5-minute video about, how do I share a Google Doc? So when you do that, a screencast and explain how to share a Google Doc in a minute and a half, it's really helpful. One, it doesn't take forever, and two, you're being very concise. So yes, your training part of your video needs to be something that you are teaching in that short amount of time, a small portion of it. One person asked, should I show all of my skill? No, less is more here. Show a small part of, you could do 6 small videos on Google, uses for Google Slides, which are so much more, I think, effective than a 1-hour presentation on Google Slides. Teachers can get in, get what they need, and get out very quickly to see what they need.
So I'm just going through the questions to see if anybody else had anything. If you asked early on and we didn't get to them, if you wouldn't mind reposting, we are going through, but just in case we miss it, because there's definitely been a lot of back channel chat going on, which is great, but we want to make sure we answer your questions. So please repost them if we haven't quite gotten to them. As far as how many people are accepted to the program, there isn't necessarily like a cap like there would be with the Innovator program where there's a limit based off of space. In this particular program, because you're not physically having to go somewhere, there isn't necessarily a cap or a number that they would maybe reach and then be like, oh, we're not going to let any more in. It really is based off of your qualifications.
One question is, are the boot camps available online or in South Africa? They are not available online, but we definitely can arrange to have something done in South Africa. We have a fantastic colleague that works with us at EdTechTeam named Jay Atwood, who would work with your school site if you would like to bring one of those certification boot camps to your area, basically worldwide, and work with you on that. So you would just go through the same motion as you would for the US or Canada, or Mexico. Just go to edtechteam.com/bootcamps and request a host or find out more to host. Fill out that information and Jay would get to you about that.
So there was a question around if you're required to do the trainer courses, and I know that Kate talked a little bit about this. I can tell you that just through the courses itself, there's a lot of content and information there that you'll find valuable, and so it's highly recommended. As far as it being a requirement, however, there isn't anything in the application itself that references whether or not you completed those. It's assumed that you would have if you've passed the exams. So obviously that would be then a personal choice, but I second what Kate said about just the valuable content that comes through from those particular courses that you will later be able to use in your professional development sessions and workshops, as well as just, designing your training goals and things like that. I want everyone to know that there's a very big difference in the content that exists now in the training course in comparison to the one prior to, which before it was really more product focused. And what you'll find in this new trainer course is that it's focused a lot on developing a really great platform for your training session. So for example, if you wanted to do a, you were setting up a workshop, and you're trying to put together your agenda and your resources and all that kind of stuff, this new training course really actually dives into how to be more efficient at creating those really great agendas and what activities to include that are going to create engagement during your session and so forth. So it's not just about product content. So you guys might feel, some of you might feel like, I know my stuff, I'm good, I don't think I need to go through all the courses. You're going to find it's quite surprising to see, it's not all product content. There is definitely a lot in there that relates to being a really great trainer. So I would recommend going through that content.
Another question is, are the boot camps listed in the new EdTechTeam events app? No, not yet. At some point they will be, but right now we only have the summits in the app. And we are looking forward to adding the boot camps as well. But if you want to see what what boot camps are near you, please go to edtechteam.com/bootcamps and just click on the find one near me.
Gareth asked a question about cost for the trainer application. There is no cost for the application itself. That is completely free. The only thing that has a cost associated with it are the exams. The courses and the application are completely free. And as of right now, officially, these exams are meant for people who are training teachers, educators who are training teachers. And so while a student could go through the program, I'm not sure that they would actually receive the certification. So that was a question that came up. I just want to do a quick shout out in relation to the Tech Sherpa certifications, which is also one of the boot camps, where students can get a certification that way. So that's a different program altogether that EdTechTeam offers, but there isn't anything official yet under the Google umbrella that would be specific for students getting that certification. And for those of you who are already trainers, I'm gonna guess that there are quite a few of you out there that have trained before, and this question came from Ann Witherspoon. Great to see you on here, by the way. So she's asking if they're already a trainer but need to recertify, do you need to actually go through the entire application process? And the answer is yes. It is a different application process. They're asking for different bits of information. You just attach your current certificates and then you're good to go. Kate, I think we've answered pretty much all these questions. Have you seen anything new or coming through?
No, but Ann Witherspoon managed to put in a link. I'm not sure how she No, we are, Monica and I are definitely available for any, questions you might have. I'm sure that as soon as the Hangout ends, you'll have like a dozen. So feel free to, put it in our community, in the Google Plus community, in the Facebook community, or just put it to Monica and I directly. And we would be happy to answer any questions. And as we mentioned with the mentor link, if you are interested in working with someone to have them look at your video and just talk about best practices when it comes to creating those applications, then feel free to fill that out and we will contact you.
All right, so last thing that we're going to do here before wrapping up, we had said that we were going to do some voucher giveaways, and Kate, how many of those do we have?
I believe we have 2.
All right, awesome. Well, I've got everyone that filled out the form ahead of time. We have those ready to go. So let me
let me explain for the 2 sets. So you get a set of level 1 and a set of level 2. I mean, sorry, 1 level 1 and 1 level 2, as Monica's putting this in. Now, if you've already taken your level 1 and level 2, those voucher codes aren't assigned directly to you. So when you do get them, you can, if you've already taken your level 2, give that level 2 voucher code to somebody else. So we have 2 sets, we'll get 2 winners, and both winners will get a level 1 and a level 2 voucher code.
All right, awesome. Well, let's do this. Hopefully everyone back there is doing a little drum roll. We're gonna do, let's do level 1 first. Let's see who the winner is for level 1. Drum roll, Mike Lane. Mike Lane, congratulations. And Kate, if you can jot that down, that name down. We've got the email in the spreadsheet, so we can email Mike Lane his voucher code. So if you can jot that down for me, and I'll even screenshot this just in case. And let's do the one for level 2. So drum roll for level 2, Lindley. I hope you're the only Lindley in the spreadsheet. All right, so Lindley wins the level 2 voucher code. So like Kate said, if for some reason you guys have already taken either of those 2 exams, then we can definitely share that, or you can share that with someone else. So all right, you guys, well, I think we're gonna call it here. Thank you again for switching over between the 2 different YouTube live links. I've got on here on my screen just the link for the presentation, which we will also send you. So let me go ahead and pull that up just so that you guys have it ready to go. For those of you who still need to snag that, give me one quick second and I'll have that ready to go for you. And thank you, I believe, Anne, that was the link that, that Anne put on there for you. But beforehand, of course, my little Android wants to say good night, everyone. We hope everyone enjoyed the webinar and that you guys got valuable information. Like Kate said, if you need anything from us, please do let us know. All right, so let me share my screen. I'm gonna drop in there the link once more for the presentation. We will also send out the recording, which you can of course find on YouTube, but we will send the link out again to everyone. Thanks so much everyone for being here with us. Kate, if you wanna leave it up for just a few minutes so people can get that link.
I can do that.
It was great to see so many folks here tonight with a lot of interest to apply. Looking forward to seeing some of those folks in the training program.
I agree. I agree. They were all, they built their own community tonight, huh?
Yeah, yeah, no kidding. I like that chat feature. It's really cool.
Yeah, I do too. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop. They can pause.
Yep, ready to go. Bye, everyone.